Hello there, welcome to Yearly Reviews, the weekly web series reviewing the video games that I played for the year of 2020 because I had nothing better to do during a pandemic. So without further ado, let's jump right into this week's review. Before we start getting into reviewing the Jackbox Party Pack 7, I'd like to talk a little about this game's history. So if you don't know, the Jackbox Party Packs are a collection of party games, always 5 in each pack. These games can range from trivia, writing, to whatever the hell this was. It's also recently been a kind of tradition of mine to pick up the new party pack each year, and 2020 was no exception. Wow, I just realised that in a series where I review games that I played in 2020, only about 3 of them were actually from 2020. Now normally you would play Jackbox with other people involved, but since I don't have anybody at the time of recording this footage, I just had to press incognito mode on my phone a lot. It's not the intended way of playing, but I was out of options. I should preface this by saying that I'll be reviewing each individual game in the party pack from worst to best in my opinion. So without further ado, let's get into the game that I think is the weakest. So first of all we have Blather Round, subsequently one of the most boring yet frustrating games made by Jackbox, which I'm pretty sure is breaking some law of physics. Your enjoyment will be mainly decided by if your friends are good at games like charades and such, but there's not much to talk about, so let's move on. It's tradition to have a game in each party pack that is a sequel to a previous game, and most times they're better than the originals, and the games that they're remaking are fan favourites, so it's no surprise to me that we got Quiplash 3 in this pack, as arguably the Quiplash franchise might be the most well-known Jackbox property aside from the You Don't Know Jack series. And it is a good series, so why is it ranked so low? Well, this comes down to personal bias. I just don't think we needed Quiplash 3 this early. Maybe in like 3 more years I would have said the time was right, but thematically it's just the same Quiplash except with claymation this time. It's a good game in its own right, but it's the same every time. Before I talk about the next game, here's an interesting story. So back in April of 2019, we got teased a new game called Everybody Help Grandma, a game all about helping your nan. But that was actually an April Fool's joke. So about a year later, we got teased a new game called The Devil's in the Details. We all thought that was a joke as well. But it turned out that it wasn't actually. The game itself is heavily reliant on teamwork, so playing this alone was pretty tricky. I mean, hell, I'd bet even with friends it'd be tricky if you're not in the right mindset. I do like the aesthetic of the game, which makes it seem like it's a sitcom about demons moving into the suburbs. It can be hectic, but it's a fun kind of hectic. And I don't have any more to say, so let's move on. Talking Points is the next game that we'll be talking about, and was actually the game I was most excited for out of every game in the pack. If you ever seen Tom Scar's video on the presentation game, then you'll know exactly what this game is about. I'll link it for you guys in the description if you haven't checked it out. The only downside to this game is that it doesn't have the same fun factor when you play it online with friends or on Twitch, which is a big shame in my opinion, but Talking Points is still a good and hilarious Jackbox game. Do you want to know how you can figure out if a Jackbox game is good or not? Strangely, you can figure this out by the music of all things, which most of the time is composed by Andy Poland, so when a game sounds like this, you know you're in for a treat. Another tradition of the party packs, aside from the sequel game, is to have a drawing-based game, and Champed Up might just be one of the best drawing-based games that Jackbox have ever done. I love everything about it, the setting, the premise, the overall art style, and like I said before, the music. Judging this as a whole game, I can say that it has its highs and it has its lows. It's not the best party pack like the 2 previous ones before it, but it certainly is not the worst. Blather Round is not that great to be honest, but if you're interested in games like Talking Points or Champed Up, then I highly recommend that you check out this game and the previous party packs. Hey there, it seems you made it to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews in the future. If you want to see earlier reviews, you can check out a playlist on my channel which has every review thus far. Also, feel free to go onto my Twitter, which has a thread of tweets showing which games I'm reviewing for this series in under 250 characters. And as always, thanks for watching.